Well, greetings and hello there, one and all. It is blah, 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 blah. It is I, your Star Wars dad, Nooch Too Good, and the Gerbil, alive back again after, I think we were talking, it's been 2.5, 3 months since we did this, right?
Yeah, it's been a while. Had a little summer vacation, little world travels, and lots of family stuff got in the way, but here I am.
Yeah,
happy to be back.
I'm going to blame mostly myself for that. I had multiple trips scheduled between June and August, and I just had, it's not burnout, but just a lot of things going on in my life in a lot of different directions. So I'm going to blame myself for that. So, but we did. So you and I got together in my, next to my hometown. We had some lunch because your hometown is actually, you're from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm up near the Joplin, Missouri area. It's about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And we got together and had lunch, which was really nice. It was really good to get together in person.
Yeah, it was really great to see you. It was like, I don't know, it just seems so unlikely that we'd actually come from such similar neighborhoods, right? So yeah, I got home for about a month there in Oklahoma, and I love my hometown, but sometimes it's hard to be there. So I got to get out of the state every once in a while. So it was a great excuse to get up and see you. It was fun, and I like Joplin. It's a neat place. I really enjoyed that main street off the highway. Stopped off at some little cafe. I can't remember the name of it. It had that old tin roof up there, like all the old 1910 style decorative tin ceilings. Can't remember the name of it. And then across the street was a game shop that had like Magic and all kinds of fun stuff. And then next to that was a gun shop that my dad would have loved. And a ton of antique stores. It was really cool.
What was it? Was it a cafe that served chili red? Was that their thing that they served, or
I don't recall. I had an Americano, like just a black iced coffee, and just hung out for a while, and it was nice. They sold a bunch of art stuff. They had some artist displays, like some photography and paintings on display.
That's cool.
And that was cool.
Well, for anybody interested, chili red is just spaghetti and chili. That's all it is.
That sounds good.
It's just chili with noodles. That's not that bad, right?
Yeah, but when you live in China, chili, good chili is hard to come by. It is not the same here, right? The beans are different. The way they cook noodles is different. It's all different. So
gotcha.
That's usually the top of my list when I get home is real authentic chili. Oh man, cornbread and beans, miss that stuff. Tex-Mex,
Well, we will ship you some chili over to China and see if it gets through customs and makes it to your house. You can throw it in the microwave.
Probably won't.
Chili is the good thing about chili is it's a microwavable, dish. Like, you don't want to. Oh no, it's not. It's not a microwavable dish. Gerbil takes his chili seriously, much like he takes raids seriously. So yeah,
let's not talk about the raid.
Well, but what I'm saying is you don't microwave pizza because then it becomes all it becomes rubbery and stuff. But a soup, you can. Yeah, you can heat up soup that way without a big impact on the quality of the product.
Yeah, my mom would make 2-3 gallons of chili at a time. You're making chili, you don't make a small bowl, right?
Right.
So yeah, you just throw everything in there and you brew it all day, and then you got chili for a week if you're lucky.
That could be a good thing. It can also really be costly to the city's sewer department, but that's an entirely separate discussion. Let's talk Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, my friends. So we've been out of it for a while. We missed a lot of news, but right now what's going on is Captain Enoch is out, and we were looking at the kit on the new forums and complaining about the new forums. And there's been, and I made a video about it. There's been, and you, I think you enjoyed it, but there've been some complaints or alarmist bells ringing because there's 2 Relic 9 characters required. Which, anybody that's shocked that they required 2 Relic 9 characters they just did it for Leviathan. Why would it not be for Galactic Legend? And then also one of them is a Conquest character. So some people are upset, and I just. I maintain that, anything that comes out that's new in the game is not going to be super free to play friendly, and nobody should ever expect that. And if you're expecting that, you just need to reset your expectations because the new stuff is not going to be free to play friendly. Unless you've been playing for a long, long time. If you've been playing for 8 years, you might already have those characters at Relic 8 or 9. Anyway, what are your thoughts? I've already kind of said my piece on it, so you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it actually kind of it doesn't surprise me at all because people do like to complain and I fall prey to it of course as well. Um, but this game, no matter how you look at it, it is a linear progression game. Now, the path you take can vary in lots of directions, but your GP, other than removing mods, cannot go backwards, right? Once you apply gear 8, gear 9, 10, relic 1, 2, 3, you cannot go backwards. So it's inevitable that your account, through just daily play, gets bigger with more higher gear characters, more relic characters, which means gradually over time, the only way the game is sustainable from a business model is to push the required progression of those characters, right? And so like for people who are crying and complaining that why are there 2, potentially 3 or 4 relic 9s, it's because the game is what, 8 years old,
9.
and a lot of the biggest money from the game comes from the top, I don't know, 400 or 500 guilds minimum, and those players are all highly advanced accounts. And so if you just throw this character out, you say, hey, look, it's GL Ahsoka, she's all you need is relic 7. Well, then what will happen overnight is 6,000 people will be like, boom, I got a relic 9 Ahsoka GL. No, they have to push that level. I mean, it's a linear progression in terms of power. And so the only way to make that money is to keep extending the in line, right? The completion line. So it doesn't surprise me the slightest. And I think that, let's face it, she's also the 9th GL in the game. And some of them are quite accessible, really. I mean, Flicker and Ray are basically $10 away, whatever it was, the Lightspeed bundle.
It was more than that, but right. And Sith Eternal, I mean, so I farmed Kylo and Sith Eternal both in like 8 to 9 months free to play. I mean, and that was not even in the new setup. I think in the new setup, you might be looking at 7 months with it. So yeah, they're very accessible. I agree. And it goes back to the thing we've talked about a lot is you've got to have the income for the game. You need the whales so the free to players can play the game. And the majority of people are free to play or light spenders, but you need the folks that are spending on the game. And I will say one thing. I do think that the spending is deeper than the top, several whatever guilds anymore, just because with Lightspeed bundles and everything that's come out with that, it's kind of gotten people to break open their wallets a little bit more at the lower levels. I see rosters every week that, it's a 5 million account and every Lightspeed bundle's been purchased and there's not a lot on the roster besides that. So that person has spent a couple $100 and they've got a fun little roster, but it's exactly the roster you buy with the Lightspeed bundle, which is, it's just a fascinating direction the game has taken over the last year or so.
I would say my alt account has really benefited, not even from the perspective of buying the kits myself. I think I bought 3 of them. I bought the new Naboo Raid Jedi pack, which I really regret. I mean, I got Qui-Gon out of it, but oh my gosh, I think that buying that bundle, I'm going to deviate a little bit. That bundle has led to more frustration in the game than had I not bought it, because I took them in there and I worked on my mods and I've been developing the strategy, and I take that squad in there thinking, okay, I can at least get some minimum points.
Right.
And yes, I can. Literally the first time I ran that squad just straight out of the Lightspeed bundle, I think I maxed at 78,000 points. And I tried all sorts of iterations, and I totally understand the mechanics of it. I mean, I'm maxing it with 4 different squads on my main account. So I think I understand how the raid is run. But even on my alt, I've now taken, who is it? I've added somebody, Grandmaster Yoda. I've got him up to Relic 5 on my alt, specifically for that squad. And even there, I'm lucky if I can get 500 to 700 on a good run. And if not, the RNG just shoots me down. And but anyway, my alt account, though, has benefited from other people buying the Lightspeed bundles. I've been able to jump up into the Kyber levels at 5.5 million GP. And it's because I'm running into all these people who did buy the bundles but don't have the mods or don't have the Zetas. And it's given me some, I hate to say, cannon fodder to beat, but that's in a way what it is. And I don't mean to diss anyone who bought them. it's just a fact that if you buy all those accounts, you don't have the back end gear and essential upgrades to get the most out of those characters. So the people who bought them, even if you are a solid player, you're probably able to ride a GP wave to push you up a bit. Yeah. And then at some point, it's going to stall out again, right? So I'm happy that puts some money investment into the game so that we keep getting stuff to play and have fun with. And I'm happy I've been able to incrementally fight my way up.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think a lot of people, I definitely have talked to people and seen people that have bought the Lightspeed bundles. They've been playing for 2 weeks and bought a bundle. It's like, you're not going to know how to use it. You're not going to know how it really fits in. And honestly, if it was that raid bundle, that's all that bundle is for. That's not built for any other game mode at all. Unless you have, I guess if you throw the Omicron on Qui-Gon, you've got a functional Grand Arena team, if nothing special. Yeah. But you're talking, that'll help you get through Carbonite and into Bronzium, and that's about it. So yeah, that's a really good point too. And as somebody on my what's my main account now is my Lightspeed bundle account. I just unlocked Jabba. That's a preview for Friday's video, but hey, congrats. But I've been running with 4 Galactic Legends and Starkiller, and that's about it. And I'm in Kyber 2 and 3, and I fluctuate there, and I'm always punching up against bigger rosters. Oh, but I did activate the Gung. I did get Jar Jar first time through, and I am a heavy Datacron farmer, which really makes a difference in Grand Arena. But yeah, you're always punching up, and I think you're right that there may be some fodder out there, but the fodder I'm hitting is guys with all 8 Galactic Legends and Riva and all the Conquest characters. I mean, they got everything, and I'm still beating half of those guys. So yeah.
Well, we're also a niche player as well, because not only are we invested in the game, right? We take it a bit more serious than a lot of casual gamers do, which helps us. Like I came across a guy, I was just looking now, my alt is back down to a Rhodium 2. I lost a bunch in 3v3. But like I ran into a Jedi squad that had, and who was their leader? It wasn't Bastila, but it was Jedi Knight Luke with Jedi Master Luke on the side. And no Revan and like Jolie, but I was just like, where are we going with this? It's not that that's a bad idea, but it's definitely not going to win a lot, right, at those levels. So yeah, just because you have them doesn't always mean you know how to efficiently use them.
So they had a Jedi Knight Luke lead with Jedi Master Luke on the squad. That's what you had?
Yeah.
That's not super duper. And probably the mods were pretty interesting as well, I'd guess.
Oh yeah, I love it when they've got like 34 speed.
Right.
Like,
I love that.
Okay.
Yeah. So we talk about these requirements a little bit. Let's talk about the boxes behind you though, because I think probably people are looking. It was the first thing I thought. I'm like, oh look. And the first question I asked was, are those opened or closed boxes? So give us a little riff on the Lego boxes behind you.
No, these are all still in box. I was saying before we started the call, I did an inventory recently, and I think I have a problem. I've got quite a few. So this is the indoor speeder chase, which was way overpriced. But when you buy as much Lego as I do, you tend to learn a few tricks on how to get them, usually about half. And then like up above me, I've got this is one of my favorites. It's hard to see. It was only available on May the 4th officially, and only if you bought a certain dollar amount or set. I don't remember. It differed depending where you were. But I managed to get 2 of these here in Shanghai, and they're legit. And I recently saw them on eBay for like $80. So I'm never going to open this one. It's a little mini Star Death Star. And then I got the Emperor's Throne over here, Luke's X-Wing behind me, Imperial Probe Droid right here, the Scythe up here on a mount, and then they're not here, but I've got way too many Harry Potter and other stuff.
So
just all over.
I've got that probe droid, but you said you didn't put the X-Wing together initially because it's just a gigantic set, right?
It's huge. It's like over 2 feet long, and like compared to the Scythe, dear God, I better not drop it. Okay, there we are. So like, here's the Scythe, right?
That's cool.
I don't know,
That's
18
pretty big.
inches, give or take. It's still pretty big, but the X-Wing is almost twice the length. And I mean, it's a fighter. So originally, I was going to hang them both on the ceiling.
Pay attention to what you're doing.
Just as a
Yeah, don't. All right, that's good. Good, okay.
Oh no,
I don't want the scythe in. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was gonna hang them, but then I was like, the X-Wing is twice as big as the shuttle. I was like, proportionally, it just isn't gonna work. So I've just never got around to opening it. Probably won't. See, Legos. Interestingly, there are some studies that say Legos have a higher return rate in a 10-year period than a random S&P 500 or NASDAQ investment. So, like, yeah, it's very hit or miss. But, like, there's a 2011 indoor Ewok Village set, originally sold for $199. And if you can find it new, Amazon, every once in a while, has one for about $800. And that's a pretty big return, but it just depends on, if you're buying Lego Friends sets, those are never going to go up probably.
Well, right. Yeah, it depends on, I mean, Harry Potter, Star Wars, that stuff's going to go up, but like, Lego Airport is probably not going to be a big, the original one probably is worth a ton, but the ones they're making now, I don't think are ever going to be, yeah.
Yeah.
So are you a full on AFOL then? Is that what we're adult fan of Lego? Never heard the acronym?
Oh, I've actually never heard that term. I don't know. Maybe I am. I really don't know. I mean, like, you can't see it, but up here on a shelf, I've got about 12 Harry Potter sets unopened. I've got. I just bought kind of impulse, and I know everyone watching, you're gonna kill me for this one, but impulse buy. I bought the Lord of the Rings. And I've just lost the name of it, but it's Sauron's Tower, the all-seeing eye.
Oh, now Barad-dûr is it? No, what?
Barad-dûr, that's it.
Okay.
Barad-dûr. I knew it was with a B, right? And I came home with it. It's massive. It's huge. When you put it together, it's like 4 feet tall and 2 feet wide. And I think it retails in the States for like $450. And so I came home with it, expecting my wife to just like strangle me and kick my butt. And the first thing, I walked in carrying this heavy box, and she just looked at me and she just said, "How much?" And I said, "Well, I got it for almost 50% off." And she said, "Good deal." And that was it.
Oh, so like, she didn't press. She didn't keep going with what. See, that's the classic. Like, oh, I saved $500. Well,
no, not really. Right. So,
well, that's cool, man. Yeah, I knew you were into it. I didn't know you're quite as into it. And well, maybe you have a problem, or maybe you'll retire early after. See, that's the thing is if you want to realize, you have unrealized gains on your Lego sets right now. To realize them, you got to sell them, and then you no longer own them, and that's the challenge. Maybe they're just there for your children because you may never be able to bring yourself to get rid of those things, right?
Yep. Oh man, back home in Tulsa, I've got like some Scooby-Doo Lego sets that are original in package, and some old early Avengers stuff, like some of their first runs. And I don't know, maybe I'll sell them. The problem is, like, I tend to get really nostalgic, even when I know I need to let it go. It's really, really hard sometimes. So We'll see.
I think most people here can probably relate. We're playing on a collector game, and many people are at least in their mid-20s playing this collector's game. So, all right, let's talk about these requirements a little bit. I don't have it up on screen today since we haven't done this for a while. I didn't have the screens put together, so that's my fault. But I haven't had any thoughts. I haven't really looked at the kits because I haven't been unlocking these characters. At this point, I'm just viewing them more as requirements and or not requirements. I think that some of them have come out. Like people are telling, and I think me going so many vacations, I've kind of lost it. Captain Enoch's going to be required for Ahsoka, and we know that the Night Trooper is required for Ahsoka. But what's her name? Morgan Elsbeth.
Yeah,
she's going to be required for Balin's
Balin's skull.
And wasn't there one oh yeah, the Dark Trooper Peridia is going to be Balin's skull as well, probably, right? That's what we're assuming.
Yeah. So the game is supposed to get updated, I guess, in the next 24 hours, and it's supposed to include Ahsoka's second set of requirements.
Okay.
And like, I really haven't been keeping up, with my travels and just getting back to work and everything right now. I haven't been able to keep up as closely as I would like also, but I've made the conscious choice that I am not chasing Ahsoka. Instead, I've been dumping all my resources lately into what did I? Well, I chased the Gungans, for example, and so I have a full Relic 9 Gungan squad because I only Relic 9 the best. So I got the Ewoks and the Gungans, all good, all Relic 9. Yeah, that's sarcasm to anybody watching, but they are indeed Relic 9. But no, and then I just unlocked Bo-Katan Mandalore this week. And like I could have left that as is, but I went ahead and threw a bunch of relic mats on her because she beats Lord Vader pretty handedly and so many other. She's a really, really good squad. And I think while GL Ahsoka is certainly going to be meta, it's still several months away. And what I've really noticed with the recent things like Jar Jar Binks, Queen Amidala, is that a lot of these big push new meta teams, it seems a lot easier to get the stars on these characters than it used to be. Like, some people just go whale day one or week one, and I did that for Inquisitors, and I did that for most of the Gungans. But then what I saw is that as it got closer to release time for that next whatever, Jar Jar, for example, suddenly all those marquee packs came back with bonus offers. Or in the Inquisitors example, they did that too. There was like a $20 pack that had like 50 shards of each of them that was temporary or something like that. And I just thought, dang, I wasted a lot of crystals on those. So I'm not doing that again. I'm bet that when GL Ahsoka comes to the game, October, November, there's going to be packs hitting the stores that'll be a third of the current price or 4 times as many shards or something. So
I'm in the same boat.
I'll wait.
Yeah. So now that I'm a spender in the game on my my Lightspeed account, I noticed the exact same thing. Like I got all those Jar Jar shards up front, not all of them, some of them, and then when Jar Jar came out, I was like, man, look at this! A week before the event, you could buy all the stuff that I already bought, and I don't remember the discounts. I don't remember exactly the discounts or the extra stuff you were getting with it, but I remember feeling like I could have just sat on this and done it at the end. So for GL Ahsoka, I did buy, I love the new setup of the marquee events now, where if you get them to 3 stars and 4 stars, you get a bunch of extra stuff from them, and you can actually farm more shards by doing that. So I did buy the 1 pack for each of them to get them a little bit higher after the marquee, but then I didn't do any more sharding after that. I'm just going to kind of wait and see as we get closer, because like you said, this is a slow rollout, man. Like we did not get a capital ship this year, and it looks like we're not going to get one. If so, it might be at the very end of the year, and they might just announce it or something. But this, I just looked up, Ahsoka was announced on July 2nd, and we're just getting the second set of requirements here on August 14th. We probably won't get the third set of requirements till September. And then they said she's coming toward the game toward the end of the year, so we're probably looking at earliest like a mid-October release date.
I got a visitor.
We have little visitors.
Are you going to bed? Say hello, world. All right. Go to bed, buddy.
I'm just and then go to bed.
Okay. All right. You're with Mama? Okay.
Is your video still good?
Yep. Good night, Leo.
You're good, man. I can.
Sorry about that.
We're good. We don't have to.
Oh, it's okay. You can leave it or not. Your call. So anyway.
So yeah, I don't think. Yeah. I think we're looking at Ahsoka coming at probably mid-October would be my guess for the release date, which is, I mean, that's a 4-month gap there, and that's normally it's like 2 months, 2.5 months, and it seems like this year we're gonna get Gungans and Ahsoka, and then we'll probably get Balin's Skull maybe announced by the end of the year, but maybe here, maybe not. I don't know. And then we're all just sitting there looking at, well, then Thrawn's coming next year. There's like not even like a question about it. It's been an interesting year, kind of maybe a slow year in Galaxy of Heroes.
In diversity, I definitely think it's been a bit of a slow year. I mean, the character rollout started really slow at the start of the year. Last year by February, I think we had already had 3 characters. I don't remember. I looked at it at some point, but this year it was like 9 in a row light side characters with the Gungans and Queen Amidala, and I'm including the Conquest characters in there too. And that really just kind of continued until we started getting these Remnant characters. But you're right. I don't believe there's going to be a capital ship this year. I really was hoping for a Jedi fleet, like an actual Jedi Council fleet. I just thought that'd be a lot of fun. It would have lined up with Naboo or a Trade Federation fleet. But no. I'm actually thinking more likely we're going to get a Home 1 lifter by the end of the year. And I know a lot of people hear me say Home 1 and think I'm a Home 1 fanboy, but it is probably the least played fleet, regardless of merit, after
Endurance.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know which one gets played more, Endurance or Home 1. I would suspect Endurance does, because a lot of people are gearing up clones and Jedi working towards Negotiator. So they get that Endurance stuff, and then they have leftover whatever, and they put it in defense and territory ward and stuff. And whereas like Home 1, it's more, I think, wide player base iconic. It's more recognizable, probably appeals visually to more people, more nostalgia in general. I mean, it goes back to the original trilogy, right? But yet it doesn't get a lot of playtime. And I think that if you're CG bringing in Luth into the game, I think that just says, hey, we're going to get Luthen's lightsaber ship or whatever that was, which truly had one of the coolest 5 minutes of ship combat ever seen in Star Wars. And I don't even like the lightsaber. I just love the way he disabled the tractor beams. I thought that was so awesome. I mean, it was very realistic. Just throw a bunch of kinetic material at whatever that tractor is. So I think that Luthen was a rebel. I think that Luthen's coming to lift some B tier rebel teams, and I think we may get his ship to further lift Home 1, and that could even be a gate behind another potential, like, I don't know, series of rebel ships. I'm a bit wishful, but I really think that that's the next capital.
I have a hard time envisioning them giving lifters for the original 3 ships. Home 1, Endurance got a rework a couple years ago, a year and a half ago now. And then
Marauder.
Executrix. Well, yeah, but Marauder's more for Negotiator. I mean, really, at the end of the day, because Endurance, Executrix, Home 1 uses a new player, and then you grow past them, right? You grow to Chimera for Empire. That's the most direct path. Then Negotiator, and then you grow to eventually Profundity. So for me, Home 1 actually, like, you use it till you get Profundity at least. But yeah, it has definitely faded. All 3 of those ships really don't have a lot of use, but I don't know if they're going to build those up or just keep releasing more capital ships, but they definitely slowed down that cadence this year. Have we had a new ship this year?
Yes, we had. Ooh, did we actually? That's a good question. I'll look it up. But while I'm looking it up, one thing that's worth pointing out, and this is like, so about 3 years ago, when I was speculating Leia was coming, and before that Profundity, I was analyzing it based on a spreadsheet where I ranked all the characters, scraped the data off SWGOH, and I was pointing out, like, here's where the money is. And I've noticed in the last 8 to 10 months, some other content creators have been calling that, like, that analysis method, the lower tier characters, they've been calling them spreadsheet characters because they're not meta, they're not whatever, they're spreadsheet characters. I'm like, okay, cool, I can get behind that name. If you look at spreadsheet characters, and especially you look at fleets, there's not a lot of room to push people up at this point. I mean, there are a few, like Ebon Hawk has no home, young Lando has no home, really. I mean, yeah, Ebon can go with Executor, but the most spreadsheet characters would be Biston, Biggs, Wedge, was it K2, Kyle, right? All there are. I mean, in just the U-wings alone, you got 5 pilots, and most of them are, other than Cassian and Jin on Errata's team, they really don't have any play in the game. So if you were to throw in a home one lifter or two, and then somehow incentivize players to take those like Biston up to like Relic 8, 9 as an unlock, I could see them doing that. I could definitely see them doing that. And sorry, I don't think that's going to make Biston any better. No.
I will tell you, there for years, Biston's U-wing was a really effective ship for home one. So just FYI.
Oh, well, as a ship, I think he's still great.
Yeah.
But as a character,
nah,
I mean,
he's
like,
not doing much. Yeah.
Yeah. What is he? I don't even know what he does.
Frenzy.
I think he. Oh, he's got frenzy, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, Swaga Marquise here. Okay, so I've got the release schedule. It was really hard to type and talk at the same time. Yeah, so this year we've had Morgan, Night Trooper, Master Qui-Gon, Padawan Qui-Gon, Gungan Phalanx, Boomadeer, Tarpals, Nass, Stap, Comeuppance.
Yeah.
That was it.
Right.
January 19th was the last one. So yeah, we have now gone 7 full months without a ship.
Which is weird.
And then, yeah, we had the Marauder in October, and then before that was June. So we're looking at 14 months, and I'll take out that one. So since the Marauder for the Leviathan, in over a year, there's been 2 ships, Comeuppance and Marauder. Both were lifters. And I don't know. I've never felt that Comeuppance actually lifted anything. I just...
Well,
just
yeah, the Raddus needed so much lifting.
Still?
At first, everybody was like, "Oh, this is really cool," and then it's like, "Yeah, it doesn't really make that much." You know, it might catch somebody off guard if they're out of fleets, right? And previously you're able to beat the Raddus when you're out of fleets. Now you can't beat the Raddus when you're out of fleets. That's really all it is. Yeah, I mean, that's a really that's a big way to put it. 2 ships in 14 months?
So 14 months ago was the I just lost it. Let me go back to it. The Mark 6. So June 9th last summer. And this is August 14. Yeah, so that's 14 months since the Mark 6.
Yeah.
And then since then there's only been 2. Two that I can see.
That's
there wasn't a Conquest ship, was there? No.
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 Conquest was the Poncho twins, Amidala. No, I'm sorry. The Poncho twins were Marquis. Amidala, Gideon, right?
Yep, Dark Trooper.
Let me open my Conquest here and see. This might interfere with my screen a little bit. Who is available in Conquest right now?
Yeah, okay. Conquest release dates. Okay, so Luthen in reverse order, Amidala, Bane, Dark Trooper, Malicos, and then the Fury was April 2023, even further back, right?
Yeah.
So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters in a row as Conquest.
Yeah, because there's only 4 Conquest characters a year, because it runs once a month and they run for 3 months. So,
right.
Yeah, so 2 ships in 14. I think that's kind of really big news. Like, what is going on with ships that they're just sitting there so stagnant? I guess maybe they're waiting for people to catch up with Leviathan before they do it, but I don't know.
I'm sick of Leviathan.
Yeah, well, it's like, so Leviathan might end up being kind of like when the Darth Revan meta itself came out back in the day. So it lasted, the Darth Revan meta lasted for like a year. And in Squad Arena, when Squad Arena used to be crystals, and that's what you focused on, I literally back in the day was like, your first focus is Squad Arena, then everything else falls into place. So that Darth Revan meta lasted for at least a year, and with no big releases, it feels maybe with all this, like we're talking right now, Leviathan's going to end up being in the same boat, because it's been basically a year since Leviathan came out, right?
Oh, it's been over a year. Yeah, the Leviathan
crazy.
release date, Leviathan release was July 19th. So we are 13 months into Leviathan.
And
Oh
only
no,
two
July 20th. Yeah. It hit the tables on July 20th. Yeah.
and only
So
ships we've
we're
had since then
13
were
months.
Marauder and Comeuppance and nothing else.
Yeah. So like I actually talk about this on a vid recently. I was saying how much it was a little rant video. I was just saying how much I hate Leviathan mirror matches. And I got a lot of people just telling me I'm playing it wrong, and maybe, but there is always a degree of RNG with the Leviathan where you get the debuffs or you don't get the debuffs.
Yeah.
You ultimate or you don't ultimate, whatever. And my issue isn't about winning. I think I'm at a point in Leviathan mirror match without changing my lineup. I just leave the same fleet there. I'm probably winning 98, 95%. It's unlikely to lose, whether I go first or second. I do not have a Relic 9 Sith Assassin. That's never going to happen until it does. But I don't mind that aspect. What I do hate is the time requirement, that it takes anywhere from a minute to the full 5 minutes to win. Because sometimes you wind up in a situation where you've taken over the enemy ship, you've got all 5 of your ships, and yet... Or no, they take over your ship. Sorry, they take your capital, but you've still got your whole fleet of 5.
And
you're just on full auto.
Yeah.
Just full auto, hitting that Mark 6, and then another reinforcement comes out. Kill that. Then go back to the 6, new reinforcement. Kill that. And it's just time, and I hate that. So in that video, though, I was speculating that we don't have a new capital, and maybe we're not going to, because maybe CG has kind of walked themselves into a bit of a corner. Because each of the capital ships for the last 3 years have, like, how do I say, like, game-breaking mechanics in it. Like, is it profundity that prevents cooldown? No, not cooldown. Turn meter manipulation, and then Executor has their own ability, and they each have things that say flat no to something. And each of those had different iterations of destroying your capital ship, chasing away your capital ship, taking over your enemy's capital ship. How do you top that? What do you do that doesn't, that's better than commandeering or getting rid of your enemies, and also works around all the other existing conditions of fleets that negate entire game mechanics? They may have kind of backed themselves into a corner, and maybe they themselves don't know what to do.
So maybe they have a serious balance issue with ships right now and launching new fleets, and they're maybe even testing them in the background, and it's just not working because there's just too much built into the existing fleets. How can you build a fleet that's going to beat all of them without breaking the game, right?
Yeah, and if you look at this from a character squad perspective, I think it makes more sense, because in squads, you bring in somebody who's ridiculously powerful, like Bane. Two-man team going up against GLs and winning on automatic. It seems broken, but because there's 360, 370-ish characters, there's seemingly always some counter. Almost no matter what you do, there's somebody who can beat something, right? There's always a paper, rock, scissor option. But Fleets only has about 60, 70... I don't know, maybe 80 ships total. And almost all of those ships are locked into their intended capital. You can't theory craft with ships the way you can with squad, because there's just not as many of them. And there's so many specific faction callouts. Like, you take, like, one of my favorite ships, the Raven's Claw. You take it away from Home 1, and it's just utterly useless. Like, Home 1 is literally mentioned in the kit like 6 times or something. And similar for like Executor and Empire. No, it needs bounty hunters, right? I mean, building an Executor fleet with Empire just doesn't really work.
Right.
Almost everything beats it. So they're kind of trapped.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I honestly, I had not put that much. I mean, you noticed that there's no capital ship this year and everything, but there's just a dearth of ships for the last year plus. And
Well, I still
probably
remember their. Do you remember when they said we have a shipload of content coming that sort of never arrived?
I vaguely remember that. I don't know, but yeah. That's really interesting, man. I wonder. Yeah, I guess I'm talked. I don't know what else to say about that. That's. I hadn't put that much thought into it, and it's a little bit a little disconcerting. The dearth is disconcerting.
The dearth. I like that.
Yeah, there you go.
2024, the dearth of fleet. So, are you excited about Enoch?
I mean, whatever. It's kind of I have not I have all these new guys at 4 or 5 stars, whatever I've got them at, and I'm just we'll see what they do with the new sets, and I don't have Dark Trooper Moff Gideon yet. I'm not in the end game. I would guess that for end gamers, I know that Night Trooper was doing just a buttload of damage with his Datacron on there. So I'm not in that end game mode yet. My plan with my account is, in 1 year I've been able to get 5 Galactic Legends on the account. So my goal is by the end of next year to have this account in the end game. To be pushing on the Kyber 1 doorstep. Although that's more difficult, more difficult to do than to say. Kyber 1 is legit. If you're in Kyber 1, you are legit playing the game. And I definitely looked at rosters where I was looking at a Deacon runs our TB and guild, and he's a member on the channel. And we were looking at his roster just a few days ago, and it was like, man, you've got everything here. He has everything on his roster, and he farms Datacrons, and his mods are awesome. And he's in Kyber 2, and I'm like, why are you in Kyber 2? And he said, because I got tired of doing an hour of research for each round of Kyber or each round of Grand Arena to get the right teams out there. So even with all the stuff, if you aren't investing the time into the Grand Arena research and strategery, you are probably not going to be able to push your way into Kyber 1. And that's interesting to me that, even with them expanding what Kyber 1 looks like, that's the situation. And I think that's an indication of the health of the game right now for me when I see that.
Yeah. A couple years ago, I think it's at least 2 years, I heard Arnold say that he expected them to expand the Kyber 1 battlefield to have more teams placed on defense. And he was opposed to that. And I was adamantly opposed to it, and I still am opposed to it. But I've hit that place also in my account, especially with the continued growth of rosters, that there are so many teams left that I'm not using anymore.
Yeah.
That I put a lot of time and energy into investing them, and I want to play with them. But I go into Kyber. I'm always in and out of Kyber 1-2 right now on my main. I'm at that border, and I just keep up, down, up, down. And you're right. It depends on how much investment I put into the time of planning. But it feels like every other event, I'm using the same 15 teams unless I drop a battle. And then I'm looking at so many other good teams still. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even use Seer, or I didn't use Malicos, or I didn't use whatever, right? And I'm like, Malgus, that's what I meant to say, right? And I'm like, man, didn't even put him on defense.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a great place, honestly, to be in terms of diversity. But it also leads me not to get excited right now at all about the Imperial Remnants, because it's just another team that I would potentially gear up and maybe not use. So
maybe not use them, or you drop another team out, and then that's another, big team that you got that you're not using. I wonder where that puts us in the future of Grand Arena. Do you picture it maybe down the road? It's a thing where each player, I choose 5 teams on my roster that I'm not going to use, and you choose 5 teams on my roster that I'm not going to use, and then we go in like that. Because I agree, adding more defensive slots or territories.
No.
I mean, you're looking at a 2-hour, Grand Arena, and nobody's got time. I mean, this is a game that has built itself around being time friendly, right? And of course, it's not. You need to invest time, obviously, but it's not a game that says there are a lot of games that are similar to Galaxy Heroes, like collector games, where they'll have events where the winners, they'll have global event winners who literally sit there and play the game for like 36 hours straight to get the global win. And this game has none of that kind of stuff built into it. And how do they adjust for that down the road to make sure we are actually using our entire roster in Grand Arena at those highest levels? That's an interesting question to pose for some point down the road.
You know, some time ago, and this is going back at least 3, maybe 4 years ago, in Territory Wars, they experimented with environment modifiers. There was a period that all troopers, for example, had a certain benefit, or all rebel had a certain benefit. Do you remember that? It was very short-lived, and it predated Datacrons. It kind of, I think Datacrons evolved out of that.
Okay.
And like I often wondered if they were to kind of go back to that, if that would add some spice to it. So like instead of the backgrounds being randomized, if like the battle was on Hoth, instead of I'm going to just put my defense, instead you pick a planet, your opponent picks a planet, and then you have territory modifiers based on your factions, so that you could have your Hoth rebel soldier and scout actually do something, right? Or if, I don't know, it's similar to Rise of the Empire, I suppose, but it becomes more thematic, and it may encourage more usage of a broader range of characters.
So you can oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add to that. And then what if GAC isn't necessarily based on conquering everything, but it's redeveloped in a Rise of Empire style map where you accumulate points for taking taking more planets than your opponent, or more territories from those planets. So whereas conquering everything becomes impossible, you actually get to utilize as much or as little time as you want based on your efficiency and roster.
Well, the game's been around for almost 9 years. It'll be 9 years in November. And it sounds like, I know, it's crazy, right? It sounds like from what you and I are talking about here, it's there's some kind of tipping point coming. You know, ships are not coming out. Grand Arena, there's a lot of teams not being used at the highest levels. Obviously, you know, anybody that's at, Kyber 4 or lower is probably using most of their roster. Or if you're not, it's because you just left maybe you just cheesed your defense or something, which is pretty common. And there's been a lot of talk about territory wars for a couple of years now. Like, can we do something different here, with territory wars? Because it's been the same thing for 7 years. I mean, it's whenever it came out. Yeah, it is the exact same thing it's always been. So maybe I guess, well, let's back up a little bit then. So this year has been the big rollout of the PC client, was kind of the big rollout this year when you really look at, since we're talking about the dearth. So in the dearth of characters and ships especially, the PC client was a big deal. So maybe they were focusing resources into getting that done. And I know that the PC client, if they have it there and everybody's using it, which I think a large chunk of people are now using the PC client now that it's just been launched. Is it technically launched? Or are they still in some kind of massive? I don't know. I don't get all these terms.
Public beta, I think, officially.
How there was the beta, then the next second beta, then the I don't know. I can't follow all these terms, but basically anybody that wants it now can get it. And I know they make more money on transactions in there because they're not having to pay Google and Apple for those transactions. So that's a money benefit for them, in addition to being a benefit for us as players, that the graphics are better. I mean, that's just a bottom line. So all that to say, I wonder if maybe this is kind of a setup year, like a regroup year where they get the PC client out and they say, okay, it's time for, let's start. I don't know. Who knows what's ahead of us, but I think it is clear from just today that we've got to have something come in 2025 to get the game, kicked off again, because it has been a slow year character-wise, while it's been a cool year for the PC client along the way.
Yeah, I think that there's been a lot of under-the-hood development this year in the game. I absolutely agree with that. There's been a bunch of that. I mean, I guess it was 2 years ago they switched the engine to Unity from something else. I'm not a coder. I mean, don't get me on that one. But I know that they have been developing the infrastructure of it for a number of years. And there's been a lot of UI changes. There's been some good quality of life changes. There's been currency changes. Like there's been a lot of mechanical changes or mechanics changes that have been good for the game. Now the direction they're moving in, I don't know that anything is coming, but I'm really, really hopeful for it. That there's a different. It's not a real concern, but a wonder though for me is that why are they pushing Imperial remnants like right now? Yeah, we got them in Ahsoka season 1. And I think they are wicked characters. I really loved especially the second half of Ahsoka. But season 2's release date is not even out yet. And whether you like or dislike the direction of Star Wars Disney, they have an established track record of going, oh yeah, we're changing directions. All right. I mean, like, look at the movies, especially. They changed directors, they changed writers, they changed everything.
They announce projects, they don't do projects, like, yeah.
It's entirely possible Ahsoka season 2 starts with Thrawn and the Chimera returning to the galaxy. Thrawn takes a shuttle, and then Enoch, the Great Sisters, and all of the others just go boom, and they're like, well, that was unexpected, right? And it's just like, interesting, okay. So,
and the problem is when these shows come out, they've got like a 1-year delay, between movies and shows and characters in the game. And so we're going to get Acolyte stuff next year. There's just no way that Disney's not going to release Acolyte stuff to this game that nobody,
they might ignore that one.
I just don't see it, man. Even if we just get a couple of them, I mean, but 15% Rotten Tomatoes, that thing it was universally disliked by everyone. Even if you love the sequels and Disney stuff, nobody really liked the Acolyte.
Yep.
And with the lack of any other content, although I will say that what's the new show, The Skeleton Crew? That looks like fun.
Crew. That looks great.
Yes,
it has modern neighborhoods in Star Wars. You saw that they're like green grass lawns and streets.
I'm actually I knew nothing. I really knew nothing about it other than Jude Law was in it. And then the trailer came, and I was like, "This," and they said Goonies, and they said Stranger Things. The thing I thought about was E.T. It just had that E.T. vibe to it with the kids and chasing aliens and getting, So it looks like it could be a lot of fun, and just to take us out and say, you know what, let's just have fun doing Star Wars again. And if we can, I hope, God, I hope they do that. I hope it's fun. I hope it's not another train wreck.
Like Acolyte,
or for me, honestly, ever since Boba Fett, I haven't had anything that's been. I mean, Boba Fett was bad, and Kenobi was bad, and I did not like Ahsoka the way you liked it, and
I really enjoyed Ahsoka. I loved Andor.
I loved Andor. I love Andor.
And and Andor had no Jedi, right? No Force, no Jedi. And it was just fabulous. And I think that Skeleton Crew clearly is going to have, mystical side of Star Wars in there. But it's not a Skywalker saga.
Yes.
It's not. And because it's not part of the Skywalker or appears to be lore based, it is free to break the rules and hopefully not alienate and tick off so many people. Right. So I have high hopes for Skeleton Crew. I'm
hoping
super
so
excited.
too. And I think they do need to do more. I mean, getting Disney Star Wars, they just need to break out of this timeline. They need to go do something different. I mean, you've established there's no whole other galaxy we can get to now. You didn't even need that, by the way. You could just go forward 1,000 years or backwards 1,000 years. Instead, they went backwards 75 years or whatever. Made a stupid series. Go way back. Although I don't trust them with it, Darth Nihilus is a woman now. Why not? Why wouldn't they do that? I could see that. And on its surface,
you're sitting there. Your backdrop has the Razor Crest, right? And have you seen the trailer for Mando and Grogu movie?
I I did not see. I did not. Did they have? Is it out there? I watched Star Wars Theory cover it, and he's like, it's not even out there, so I haven't seen it.
No. So at D23, I think that's what they called it, the Disney convention or whatever out in California, I guess. It just happened this week that they had a sneak private preview of it, and a bunch of people, of course, filmed it on their phones and leaked it. And Disney's been really good at getting them taken down from YouTube everywhere else. Like Eckhart's Ladder did a good video about it, but guess what Mando's flying around in Mando and Grogu?
The Razor Crest?
Or the same class ship.
Well,
so
I thought that was a mistake from them. I don't know why they blew up the Razor Crest anyway. Like, they should not have done that.
No. It was a cool ship.
Yes.
It made a lot more sense than the Starfighter, which is also a cool ship, but so the Starfighter had the same problem I had with the original prequel release. When I saw the Phantom Menace back in, what was that, 1997, 8? I don't remember. I came out of the theater really annoyed at how shiny and modern and slick everything was relative to the original trilogy, having more industrial, darker, gray, kind of bleaker tone to it. And the Mando Starfighter having that shiny color tint and chrome and everything, to me, did not match his more rustic, leather-bound Mando suit that we all loved in season 1. Right?
Well, to me, the Naboo Starfighter just makes no sense as a ship for a smuggler / bounty hunter. It makes zero sense.
No, yeah. Where's he going to put the bounty?
Yeah, it's just kind of that
whoever he catches.
Yeah, look, nostalgia. They just never should have blown up his ship in the front. Like, it's like it'd be like blowing up the Millennium Falcon. It's a major part of who Han Solo and Chewie are, and the Razor Crest was the same thing for Mando. Like, they should not have done that. So I didn't know that was happening.
So spoiler, but it appears we've done another 180. Blow up the Razor Crest, get a new ship. Oh, let's go back. No, bring it back.
Maybe it's a prequel.
Nope, it's not a prequel. We know that. But it's like season 2 was about we're going to hand off Grogu to the Jedis, and season 3 is like, back up on that, right? And then it's like we were going to blow up the Razor Crest, and now we're going to back off on that. So Disney does do a whole bunch of 180s. So Enoch and the Great Mothers and Elspeth, I'm like, I think it's a bit premature to be bringing them into the game, right? Especially like if Enoch, we see him get his head cut off in the first 5 seconds of season 2, right? It's just like, well, I'm glad he's meta in the game.
I think you're pushing that analogy out. But anyway, yes. The new characters right now for me, until I get unless you have a gigantic, perfect full roster, I think that most people are just going to view them as requirements for Ahsoka or Baylan Skoll. Unlike when Jar Jar came out, people were clamoring for Jar Jar for years. So when he came out, a lot of people, even new players, came to the game and got Jar Jar. Or they now have Jar Jar on the second time through. People wanted Jar Jar on their roster. These characters.
What do you think of the squad?
Well, I've just been thrown on defense. So I honestly, I don't know a lot about it. So I've been throwing it on defense in Grand Arena. You know me, I just auto the raids. I'm not a big raid, discoverer of mechanics guy. So I've been throwing out there the raid and maxing it out at Relic 5. So 1.2 million, I think, is what that is at Relic 5.
Yep.
And so I haven't really done a lot of gameplay. The most playing I've done with them is in Galactic Challenges when they're needed and it's not work. The auto's not working for me. So I do think they're fun. And a Conquest too, where you have to actually. One of the Conquest feats was get shield up like 50 times or whatever. So I had to actually play with him to do that, because if you auto it, he doesn't get shield up, and it's just like
no, they win just too fast.
Right, exactly. So I think they're fun. I think it'd be really. It's always interesting to me to see these Grand Arena teams come out, and so they released the Gungans. They're a Grand Arena team, or Dr. Aphra back in the day. She got her Datacron for the first 6 months. What is this team when that Datacron is gone? Because Jar Jar's got 3 Grand Arena Omicrons. Will it be? I don't think it'll be as effective. I still think it'll be a really, really effective Grand Arena team. even with just like whatever new Datacrons are out. It's just always curious to see like Afra was killing Galactic Legends, and now she's kind of an afterthought. Like you don't get. She's just kind of a B team in Grand Arena for people that have her. She was never a defensive team. So, Leia Organa has had some legs as a defensive team, even with the new Datacrons. Although, Darth Bane can still beat her in the right situation, even without his Datacrons. So I think with these new teams, it's always good. Sorry, I keep going, but like Obi-Wan gets a Datacron if you get to a certain level with him at the top tiers of the game. So I think it'll be really curious. I'm really curious to see how the Gungans perform once the Boss Nass Datacron is gone, which is coming up next month. And then I think we can start to make assessments. Now all of a sudden, it's not working on defense. Let me move it back over to offense. And I'll put something else on defense, whatever else we do with it. So I think you almost have to wait out the first 6 months and the initial excitement / fun / mechanics of it and see what happens when the Datacron expires.
Well, do you encounter many Gungans in territory battles? Territory wars, sorry. TW?
No, my guild does not encounter a lot of Gungans. And I think we will start to now that we've gone through the second. I think we've doubled the amount of Jar Jars in the game now.
There's quite a few now.
Yeah, now that he came back out. So I think we'll start to see him. We have not, to my knowledge, full confession, managing multiple accounts. My guild is pretty lenient with me on offense and territory wars. I play when I can. I get called upon when there's a dire need. My guild is pretty good at territory wars. We're 90 to 95% win territory wars, even at our 300 or 350, 400 million. We're 350 million. I don't know what we are. We're pretty good. So I don't do a lot of offense in territory wars just because of time.
It's a time sink. There are 4,645 unlocked Jar Jars presently.
It's not that many.
All but one are level 85.
There's one that's not level 85.
He's at level 1. Yeah, that's funny. Well, I would say when you do run into them on defense, because I think most people just throw their Gungans on defense. And in TW, you got the Boss Nass Omicron, which is pretty solid. I discovered that Hera Phoenix with Rex and Hera's Omicron wreck them. Even with the Boss Nass Datacron, I dropped a Gungan squad today with my Phoenix. They were all relic 7-8, and my Phoenix is relic 5-7. And it was pretty much no contest. Because what happens is Sabine can hit 4 times on basic, and then I think Rex hits twice on basic. And so if you can target, and you will at some point, Chopper and someone else both can remove taunt. So when you target that shield generator, you can hit it 12 times on an assist. You just use whatever everyone attacks, and it's just like boom, and you hit it twice, and it's gone. And then after that, you just walk over the whole team. It's really interesting. It may take you 3 minutes, honestly, to get to the shield generator, but she puts that team-wide backup plan, and so you lose someone, no problem. They all will stand back up, and you have a turn meter control over them because every time they assist, or whoever uses a special is gaining turn meter, and then Kanan's passing turn meter. So yeah, they handle it pretty well, but don't quote me as saying you're going to win 100% of the time. You do need to think your way through it. But I did a vid on that a while back and got a lot of positive feedback that, so when you do start seeing them in TW, hit them with Phoenix, especially if you got the Heracron. If you don't have Hera's Omicron, it's risky. But
yeah, I thought I had seen a video about that from you here recently. So, well, man, we're hitting at our hour mark. We've covered a lot of ground. We've actually kind of delved into some stuff, like this has been a really interesting conversation and really interesting conversation. So I don't know, is there anything else we need to cover today or anything else that's been on your mind?
Yeah, if you buy an iconic Lego Star Wars set, don't open it. Leave it in the box.
Toys are meant to be,
on it.
I'm going to say the opposite. I collected comic books for years. I remember looking at going, oh, this is gonna be worth this, and this is worth this, and this is worth this, and it's like, at the end of the day, it's only worth something if you find somebody to buy it, and that's the challenge for a lot of us that we're not retailers, finding someone to buy it, or you have to go through, you have to do on eBay and you lose a little money anyway. Or you have to put the effort into selling it. So ever since I realized that, maybe 20 years ago, I view toys and collection stuff as stuff to be enjoyed and played with while I've got it. But that's not toys. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying it's from a different point of view. No, okay.
When the original trilogy was remastered in the early 90s, I ran out and I bought 80 plus Power of the Force Star Wars action figures. It was like, the Darth Vader and all them from those trilogies. And you know what they're worth today? We're talking 30 years later. Roughly what I paid. And they're new in package. Some of them have gone up. Some went from about $5 to $30. But many of them, you can find them in the discounted buy one, get one free clearance at like vintage stock and stuff. Yeah, it's called Power of the Force. Yeah. Now, recently, some of them have started to go up. But I think it's because they were so mass produced. Everyone did what I did. We all ran out. We all bought them. And gradually, 25 years later, they still had no value. People finally started opening them. And now they're never going to be worth holding on to for 40 years. Yeah. I did.
Whenever you get that mass production, I remember collecting comic books, and they started X-Men over from scratch, like in 1991 or something. And they said, okay, here's X-Men issue 1, and here's 4 variant covers. And I bought like 5 copies of each cover. And I don't know what that's worth today, but it's like they mass produce so much of it that it's not going to be valuable down the road, not going to be as valuable as other stuff might be. So,
but it's some of the finest outhouse wallpaper you could ever own.
And these characters, I'm looking at this Power of the Force. There's this Darth Vader that looks all muscly, and it's like,
he's ripped, isn't he?
Yeah, who wants that?
Look at Farm Boy Luke. I don't know if you can show that on the back there, but yeah, Luke, Power of the Force. He is ripped.
You guys are all ripped. Nobody wants that. That's ridiculous.
No, he's got pecs, his shirt's open, down to his waist almost. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, what were they thinking?
Now you get a 1977 Luke Skywalker in the original packaging, then you got, $50,000 on your hands or whatever it is these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I stumbled across a bunch of original Ewoks. They wanted like $180 each, and I was tempted for a moment, but fortunately I walked away from that one.
All right, Gerbil, we're going to wrap it up on your Ewok notation there, of course. Any parting words for the audience today?
Oh, don't wail yet. Wait and see.
There you go. I agree with that. We're waiting and seeing. We'll probably end up doing some whaling, but I think it's cheaper to wait a little bit longer in the game with the way it's structured right now. So, Gerbil, it was good to get together again, and we haven't been on screen in a few months. We did have that lunch, but it's good to see you. And
you too.
Take care. Make sure that candle doesn't get to the boxes in the background. We're good.
It's fine.
All right, good. Everybody, have a great day. We will talk to you soon, and always remember. Gerbil and NOOCH, too good.